fast and feeling free on that asphalt lane. Oh, why to tell a day they ain't holding no chain.
Gordon dropped the back comfort, and we get busy. Bars and under the sun drops, made for rest 19.
Four cars side by side in a wild front ride, with the roar of the engines leaving all doubts behind. As the wheels spin on, chasing dreams we can't hide. That's car life where legends never die.
There was no technical difficulties with that intro at all. I promise you guys. Welcome to the episode that we are currently filming, which is episode 20, I do believe, right? Yeah?
Double digits, I know.
Well, we've been at double digits.
Been there.
I mean, Kent may have not been here for the double digit
this
amount.
might be double digits for me, but, you know.
It might have toes on how many he's been now.
Yeah, maybe. Boy, well, we're all here, except for Austin, obviously. Austin's not here this week. He has camp, and then I think he has vacation Bible school, so next 2 weeks for him will be chalked. Then Blake is going off to camp next week, and I don't know about Kent. I know he just had vacation Bible school, but do you have camp coming up next week? Or?
You know, I'm in the clear until I go on vacation in July, and there's Wesley screaming. But anyways, until I go on vacation in July. But even then, I thought about I'm going to be near Daytona. I might be able to record like from the parking lot at Daytona International or something like that. That would be kind of sick. But anyways,
buy a ticket. Buy a ticket, man.
You know,
go
I would,
in there.
But I don't think there's anything going on that weekend.
I'm sure there's something.
Yeah, just take the rental car around the track.
Hey, you know, I actually thought about taking Wesley, and he's never seen anything like that before, right? And like he's still a little bit too little for me to take to a race. Thought about taking him in, letting him just see like if they're doing the NASCAR experience, just the one car going by, you know, at the limited horsepower or whatever. That'd be pretty cool. But see how he reacted.
Go kart.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. I got to do that, and that was a blast. But you ain't going near what they're doing on Sundays.
Ironically, you were in a Joey Logano car too, weren't you?
Yeah, that's why it's so slow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, welcome everybody to episode 20, I think. If not, my bad, but I'm pretty sure it's 20. Plus, I'm editing the whole thing, so I'll just insert number here. But we have a special guest. Obviously, we've had him before. We've kind of made him our designated road course guy for reviewing the road course races. Obviously, we had Mexico City this weekend, which was a great event in Xfinity and Cup. So he is here to join us. Brett, say hello to everybody.
How are you?
I'm sure they're doing good. I know they can't say anything, but I'm just going to say they're doing good for you. But
our listeners are great. They are fantastic.
Always. I know my buddy told me that he's been listening to the podcast when he's at work for training. When he's training for work, he just puts on the podcast.
Another guy, he was in my youth ministry, and he just kind of casually said, yeah, I was just listening to Blake's podcast the other day. I'm like, yes, we are winning.
That's right.
Yeah.
We got a global presence. Well, I mean, we're over in Europe now, which is crazy.
Awesome.
What part?
Well, remember we're in the Netherlands. We were in the Netherlands the other day.
And then
And Russia. We were in Russia.
okay, Russia's in Asia too, so we're like in all continents, man.
We're getting there. We're getting
Dude.
there.
Soon
You guys out down here in Ecuador?
Yeah.
I'll just have to call Santa Claus to get him to listen from the North Pole, and we'll be good. Have all covered.
Make it to where the polar bears.
That's right. The Coca-Cola polar bears. And we got Blake with us, obviously. The red Podpa Smurf today.
Yo, that is
Tomato Man.
The Veggie Tales tomato.
As
We
Cole
got the
would say,
Kool-Aid.
I have a face for podcasting.
Reddest face in podcasting history, no doubt. Oh boy. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're obviously going to recap the Xfinity race first, which, man, I swear, I don't know which one has the worst storyline. Not by saying it's worse by the race storyline, but obviously with Suarez winning the Xfinity race, the only thing I've seen on Facebook after the race is, man, I'm so glad NASCAR rigged this race where Daniel Suarez can win this race because he's in his home country. He had to drive all the way from the back. I'm like, I mean, you hate to see it, but I knew it was going to happen if he won.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
And
believe
it was immediate. I mean, there was no filter for anybody. They're just like, yeah, NASCAR's rigged now. So all those time Denny Hamlin win, that's rigged because everybody loves Denny Hamlin. That's how
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, it is super unfortunate to see some people spout out some stupidity like that, because the way that Daniel's weekend was going, like, to me, if you're going to rig something, you're going to give him the fastest car, and that thing's going to drive well. And he could not drive that thing well in practice and in qualifying at all. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just to throw a little wrench in the conspiracy theorists arsenal there, but yeah, that's kind of unfortunate to see. But hey, shout out to Suarez for what a good drive he did in a backup car. That was a fun thing to watch.
It's kind of ironic that you said that practice and qualifying because it was a whole separate car because he absolutely junked that thing into
Yeah,
that turn. I mean, there was nothing left of that green Quaker State car. And they're like, all right, we're just going to throw the old black car together, which was a road course car for Allgaier in Chicago. It was a backup car for him last year where he finished fifth in that car. So does that mean Daniel Suarez is better than Justin Allgaier?
why don't you ask the conspiracy theorists, or why don't you go poll about 10 boomers?
Go poll the people who
Me.
sit on their couch and comment things.
Well, my main thing is people don't understand that Suarez had the most reps at the track. He's won at the track 3 times already. Obviously, not in the Cup level. It was for the it's like the Mexican ARCA series.
Yeah.
That's what it essentially is. I know that's not the technical name for it, but he's obviously driven that track way more, so you have more experience. So therefore, it makes sense. Plus, you're with all these younger drivers. I mean, majority of the fields, I don't know, below what, 26 years old, 25 years old.
Probably something like that. Yeah, I'd say that's safe.
That's a safe bet, I would say. Allgaier's like the one name that comes to the top of my head, being like the older veteran in that series. But yeah, I feel like obviously when you have as much experience on that track, I mean, he's in a junior motorsports car. First of all, I mean, it's not like he was Christopher Bell's Sam Hunt racing car. I mean, when that came out, I was like, I wasn't expecting Christopher Bell to do anything, and he was up there competing for a win in that car. So you
Yeah.
give a driver a car like from junior, I mean, that's pretty much a win-win. Plus, with the experience, it just felt like it was going to happen. So obviously, you hate to see it because Suarez, it's a big win for him personally. Obviously, if he would have won the Cup race, I think if he would have chose which one he won, you obviously want to win the Cup race. But overall, it was a great storyline. I mean, that's what you want to see in NASCAR. There's not a lot of storylines that are positive here lately. There's been a few negative ones, especially for specific drivers, which
Like
we'll get.
the 77.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's just been his whole season in a nutshell. Hey, this man's driving his butt off. He's doing really good, but he can't stay out of controversy to save his life right now.
No, he needs, and I don't know, he needs the right guy to come alongside him who says, hey, I'm going to take you under my wing. I'm going to show you how to kind of control that mouth and maybe even the steering wheel a little bit. Carson Hocevar, I don't think anyone thinks he doesn't have the potential to be an incredible driver, but I think he already is. But yeah, golly, he's got to get smart.
Yeah, you definitely don't say that kind of stuff on Twitch, right? Because, like, even if you think it, it's very wise not to say it.
And there are 1,000 other ways to say that it was a bad experience without saying it the way that he
You
said it, right?
say, guys, I had a bad experience. I don't think it's safe. I don't think we should be racing there, and that's it.
But the crazy thing is that was before the race even happened. That was like before he went. That stream was before. So, because he posted a long tweet and he said essentially that it was all before he got to experience everything in the culture there. So I mean, talk about putting your foot in your mouth. And then
Well,
you get there, and then it's a fantastic experience for most of the drivers, which we'll talk about here in a little bit after we get done with Cup. But there's a lot of things they could do better in regards to this race. Go
yeah,
ahead, Blake.
in regards to like going to Mexico City, like you saw a lot of logistic things that could be better. But I was just thinking, like, as a fan, like, did y'all see the video where Ty Gilliland was going through the crowd and everybody was like almost like throwing haymakers at each other just to try to get an autograph?
That's
Yeah, I
Todd
saw
Gilliland,
that.
of all people.
Yeah, and it's like no disrespect to Ty Gilliland, and I think he will become he's already a good race car driver. I think he will be great in the Cup Series one day. I do, but
Mhm.
it's not Kyle Larson we're talking about, or a William Byron, or a Jeff Gordon, or even a Rick Hendrick going through there, right? But we're talking about Ty Gilliland. And these fans are stoked, and like you see some excitement in the tracks in America, but man, I don't know. It's like if I had to relate to what I saw for any of our listeners who didn't see the video, it'd kind of be like if you had like 1,000 rednecks at once trying to get Dale Jr.'s autograph, just walking through Daytona. That's
Yeah,
probably I would. That's probably the way I would illustrate how excited they were to see any driver, and that was awesome to see.
it sure was. I thought that was amazing that the culture there that they did that to drivers and everything.
Well, and I think too, it's good to. It's kind of good for a racing fan to kind of look at other cultures and be like, man, they are super stoked, like,
Mhm.
and to see the passion, like, with the amount of times we complain, just as the American race fan too, it ought to make you probably reflect a little bit and think, you know what? Let's just be grateful that we got racing going on.
Yeah. I mean,
Brett, what's your overall thoughts about the race in particular? Not to mean to cut you off there, but just whatever you want to say, kind of weave it into just your overall interpretations of the overall Xfinity race.
like for what Blake was saying about fans, the past weekend, this weekend was the Le Mans 24 hours, and that brings fans from all over the world. So I always look at it as like any motorsport event, we should always, even if you don't like know much about it, you shouldn't judge it. Just like don't judge a book by its cover. I think people need to be more open to being into new things. And then for the Xfinity Series race, I thought it was really fun, and I was hoping there'd be more of a weather factor than there was. When I saw there was 60% chance of rain, Austin and I were Snapchatting like, "Get them rain tires ready," and I was like, "Yeah," but it was great. I mean, props to Suarez for being able to go from the back to the front and do what he did, and I think it was a great race. I think NASCAR needs to do this again, like try out different places and run some other tracks outside of the U.S. to get fans from other countries and or maybe even different states that we don't go to, try different tracks.
I think Suarez's overall performance in the car was fantastic, but there's also, I mean, of course, the unsung heroes of the car, people that worked on the car, got it
Mhm.
pretty much ready to go, put the seat in and everything, got it ready to essentially turn laps and throw, the best adjustments they could throughout the race because that car was not blazing fast right off the start. It wasn't like
No,
he was making up. It wasn't Connor Zilic
no.
making it up after he wrecked, which we'll talk about. But that car was overall like decently fast the first
Mhm.
portion of the race, but once they made those final adjustments towards the end of the race and they got the car appropriately adjusted for Suarez plus the track, I mean, it was hard to pass him, in all honesty. And the only person that was going to do it, or could probably do it, is either Gibbs or the 88 car. And of course, Ty Gibbs, man, I picked him this week in the Xfinity Series, and shoot,
I
I
thought
thought,
about for Cup, and I should have.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, Kent, what's your overall thoughts about the race? You can kind of weave in whoever you want to talk about here. I know you'll probably mention Suarez, but
Yeah, and I didn't get as much of a chance to watch the racing. as I wish I could have. And I know y'all know the reason why, and I'll probably share a little bit more about that on the next episode, hopefully with a lot of good news and exciting stuff to share. But
For
I
sure.
just didn't get the chance to see a lot of it. But what I did see was, I mean, it just seemed really cool, the kind of the pomp and circumstance of NASCAR going to another country. Mexico seemed like a more than eager and exciting host. They were thrilled to have not just the Xfinity, but the Cup Series there too. And I thought they did a great job of showing up and showing out and being an energized fan base, even though the weather was less than ideal, I think, throughout the weekend. But Suarez winning, I mean, yeah, it's so easy to look at it and go, that's rigged. We saw that coming from the beginning of the season, right? Like, it's so easy to say that. But I'll just say this: in any script where it would have been rigged, it goes out the window once he absolutely totals the primary car. Like that goes out the window. Once you're put in the backup car, there's so much out of your control. The adversity he faced in that race and had to overcome, that was just a butt whooping. I mean, that's just what it was. And we know Daniel Suarez is already good at these road courses. And like y'all said, he's got experience at Mexico. So why wouldn't he be able to show up and be able to kind of show out the way that he did? So I'm happy for him. I was thrilled for him to see him celebrate, to hear him talk about, man, those fans, I could hear them when I took the lead. I mean, he might look back on that win with more. I mean, maybe the Atlanta win, right? That really close win in Atlanta being the only other one that could rival this one. I know he's got other cup wins, but to be able to look back and say I went to my home country and won in one of my sports top series, that's pretty daggum cool. To have two international winners on the weekend across the top two series, I think what you see is NASCAR really saying, hey, we are an international sport. And what we need to, and what I need, the hillbilly in Western North Carolina, look, I'm not knocking on anyone in
Hey,
Western North Carolina.
don't leave me alone.
Well, we need the NASCAR faithful fan who's been a fan for the last 50 years, right? Like, what we need them to understand is NASCAR's not leaving you behind. They gave you back North
Wilkesboro,
Wilkesboro. They gave you back Rockingham,
Bowman Gray.
Bowman Gray. They have been adamant that we are not leaving our roots. But in not leaving their roots, they're also saying, we believe we belong on an international platform. And I think this past weekend showed a little bit of why. Now, if we can just get someone to hang within 15 seconds of SVG on a road course, that would be sick. But until then, hats off to the guy. That was another good butt whooping. But it's just I can't say a whole lot for the racing itself. But as far as the atmosphere and the winners, I think the fans that were there were more than happy, and I think NASCAR as an organization looks back on it and goes, "That was a success." Now, logistically, they'll have to talk about whether or not they do that again next year. But from the outside looking in, it looks like a success.
I think it's a pretty easy solution to solve all this of a mess, which I'll get into probably when we get to the cup part. It's funny that you make, the roots. I was kind of thinking of this whole ordeal with NASCAR. It's like, it's a garden, right? So you have like your designated plants that you always plant, your tomatoes, your potatoes, whatever. But you're like, you know what? I want to try something new this year. I want to try to grow banana peppers or whatever, insert whatever a specialty kind of thing. It's a little bit different. Does that make the whole garden terrible? No, it's the same freaking garden. It's just you're trying out new stuff.
Well,
So
I like that because you're and two to even take that analogy a little bit further, you're going to have your perennial shrubs and your perennial plants. So your Martinsvilles, your Wilkesboros, your Daytonas, Talladegas, but then you're going to have your annuals. Like a Mexico City, a Chicago street course potentially. And it looks like that might not be a thing come next year from what I'm seeing. And in your annual garden, you put new ones in, right? And you don't get rid of your base perennial ones, but it never hurts to throw, add a little spice to the annual garden
And
and put some different annuals in.
I like that analogy because NASCAR has not been quick to say, "Hey, we're going back to Mexico next year." But what if they turn around and say, "Hey, we're going back to Japan," or what if we're going? Like this could open the door for other international points races that we didn't see coming, where they say, hey, much like we might rotate the championship race here soon between track to track to track to kind of give more cities an opportunity to host, but more fans an opportunity to probably experience it. I think you could see NASCAR say, hey, we're going to have this one international race a year. It might be Mexico, it might be Canada, it might be somewhere else. It would be sick to see NASCAR go to Europe and tackle some road course out there somewhere and just kind of see what the vibe is, what fans show up, and kind of what they I mean, they loved seeing the V8, Hendrick car running around, there a couple of years ago. And so I think that you could get a whole lot of fans energized to come out to see a race in Europe. Logistically, I think you'd have to buffer it almost with 2 off weeks, but still, if anyone can figure it out, NASCAR can. And it would just be really, really, really exciting to see where this goes in the future. I was against Mexico at the start of the season. When they announced it, I was against it. I thought it was stupid. You were too?
Well, that's because this goes back to the kind of that core what you're talking about, the Western North Carolina fan, right? I was kind of pissed they took too
Same.
rich away, right? Because to me, on one hand, I'm like, everybody's talking about logistics and whatnot. I got a great logistical option. Just go to Richmond.
Yeah, no
but
doubt.
but also, I'm just going to be fair. I like the track, but nobody was showing up to Richmond for 2 races a year.
And they'd already gotten rid of a lot of grandstands too. And so, but I would love to see what NASCAR would look like on other international stages now. I think it was a success in Mexico, and I think it would be cool to see what it looks like beyond that.
Well, I think another easy option too, right?
Absolutely.
Because the Bush and Nationwide, they used to race up at Gilles Villeneuve up there and in Montreal. And then, like, whatever happened to Canadian Tire? That was a great road course for the trucks,
It was.
Uh, and honestly, too, when you go to tracks like Road America, you get a big um, uh, Canadian fan base coming over because it's super close there. And so, yeah, I'd love to see it get in. And I think there's a lot of options in North America that you
Hmm.
could definitely do. And just experiment a little bit.
Austin and I were so disappointed when they removed Road America. We're like, why? Just why? It did so well. He and I are even
Yeah,
like, remove the Roval and put that in its place. Like, no,
Blake's against that. Blake's a
I've
hardcore Roval supporter.
I've been to Roval twice, but honestly, after the second time, I was like,
yeah,
there's some other tracks that Austin and I have talked about, like them racing and maybe have a better road course package. We said they need a better road course package we think that would help a lot.
yeah. Well, I think a good remedy is like if you take the road one, if you give Wilkesboro a points race from the
Hmm.
road by the same people, but you use this Mexico City slot to go to a Canada or to a Japan or a
Yeah,
Europe or down in Brazil. I've heard about that too.
yeah, like in Brazil, you got Interlagos. That's like a big track that F1 races on. It's a good track. I don't know if it's suitable for cup cars, but there's some other tracks in Brazil. And then, like, I know NASCAR used to race at Suzuka way back in like the 90s. I think that would be a good in the modern era. I think that'd be fun to bring the cars back there. And there's a whole bunch of road courses. I think we just get a better package or even a slightly improved one that could make a big difference. I know a lot of the fans hate it, but my dad said it's good for the he don't watch NASCAR race it for the road courses. It's good to show that the drivers don't just turn left. They are true drivers. They do know how to do road courses. He said that helps, and it also helps the drivers learn. Like your people like Austin Dillon or people like got to put Catherine Legg out there. But I know she's a road course racer, but it makes people like that stand out more because you're like, well, I never realized how good they were. Like AJ Allmendinger, people didn't know he was a good road course racer, and he's been doing road courses for most of his career. So
I would debate a little bit. I think the road course package is made big improvement since the last year and a half or so. It's been a pretty big drastic change. I mean, you think of the races like Busher and SVG going at it at Watkins Glen at the end of last year. It's not a terrible package. The
No,
short
it's
track
not.
package is worse than the road course package is for the most part, for being particularly honest.
Yeah, I'm not calling it like a really bad package. I'm just saying there could be some improvements made. But
Buy some Xfinity cars from some Xfinity teams, because that, I mean, that car put on a great short track, and that thing put on a great road course package.
I
Um,
agree. Run a multi-class race.
it's something.
It would be sick if they just souped up some of those Xfinity cars with just, you know, 850,
Superchargers.
900, horsepower. Put some of those Cup engines in them and just unleash them and just let them rip. That'd be sick.
For sure. And I wouldn't be against, in all honesty, piggybacking off what you said, Brett. I wouldn't mind if they did like a 24-hour race somewhere, and you
I
had
think they
like,
could do it at Le Mans, or not even Le Mans. Daytona runs the Rolex 24, and they used to run Cup cars there way back in the day at night.
now that was a good road course, in my opinion, was the Daytona road course. I'll
It's a
die on
great
that.
road course. It's a great road course. I love it. But I mean, I think like use a Garage 56 car. I mean, we don't need that much like horsepower, but I mean, I think get the headlights, let them run at night, even cut the lights down. Like a really good track, I think would be really challenging. Is I don't know if you guys have heard of Sebring.
Yeah.
It's in Florida. I think that would be it's a bumpy track. It's a great track. That's where the Garage 56 car tested a lot. And it made a lot of miles and did a lot of decent runs there. And Austin and I said that's a track that not many people know about. And when IMSA hosts it races there and a bunch of other series race there, it works out great. A lot IndyCar even tests their cars there because it's such a great test facility. Cars used to run there before the Le Mans 24 hours to test their cars there. They'd run their Le Mans cars there because it's just like Le Mans, except it's a 12-hour versus a 24-hour race, but they could do a 24-hour race there.
Well, and I think too, I mean, and even if you did it exhibition, I mean, if you had your top 10 Cup cars, your top 10 Xfinity, top 10 trucks, because, I mean, let's be honest, a truck team like the Realm Brothers, I don't know that they're going to be able to do like a 24-hour, you know what I'm saying? But like, you
Yeah,
throw like some Thor Sport trucks and
yeah.
maybe like 5 ARCA cars, and you just have, it's a showcase of all your
Yeah.
teams.
Like even a
I think,
5 or 6 hour endurance race would be cool.
yeah, something like that.
But we need to kind of move back to the Xfinity Series race in itself, because there are a few points that we've not mentioned. Obviously, Connor Zilic would have won the race if there was no damage on that car, because that car was lightning freaking fast. Of course, I think it was the third stage restart that they had where him and Gibbs got into it when they going into the first few turns and essentially ruined both of their days. Gibbs was able to get out of that first corner, but then ended up dueling Quapple, I think, in the one car, and ended up wrecking in a whole different turn. So I feel like, of course, yes, Suarez won the race and everything lined up for him to win the race, but Connor Zilic, man, is just, he is a man among boys when it comes to that series, when it comes to road courses, kind of like how SVG is. But the crazy thing is, he is a boy. He's young as crap. I mean, he can't even drink. I think he's 20 years old right now, 20 or 19.
Yeah.
And he had speed at every single road course race that they've run in the Xfinity series. Coda was fast. Obviously won his first start at Watkins Glen last year, first ever Cup or first ever Xfinity start. He wins, and he's come from the back to win the races too every single time. And this is the one time that he didn't quite make it. He got up to fifth though. I mean, people don't think about that. At the end of the day, that car was absolutely freaking trashed. He was able to drive it all the way from essentially the back to fifth.
I was going to say, Cole, if he, that would be a pretty cool die cast if he would have won that thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That would have been an amazing die cast.
Because it has all the rubber buildup and whatnot from all the tire marks and crap. And when it's those white cars, it really just shines even more. So I agree. I think the Suarez one will be pretty nice. It's just a nice matte black, so it's like a standard looking scheme. It's very rare that you see that. Most time now, everything's like wrapped in different colors. So see a car that's just solid black with your vinyl sponsors and partnerships and whatnot put on there is pretty cool. But also, I do want to shout out Taylor Gray for not absolutely just trashing Suarez on the last lap on that last turn, because he could have very much sent that into the corner and just was like, you know what, I need to win this race. But that's been one thing that's impressed me a lot about Gray this year, is with what happened to him at Martinsville, obviously, when Sammy Smith decided that he's going to take out the whole field on that last restart, and Gray was going to win that race. He's had things not line up, but when it came to after the interview and whatnot that they had after Mexico City's Xfinity Series, he said, well, first of all, obviously, I'm not going to wreck the guy that's the most popular driver in Mexico. I mean, first of all, that would be just a dumb mistake. But two, he's like, I had it happen to me at Martinsville, and he's like, I'm not that kind of driver. It's not how I race. So I felt like I felt like the bump that he gave at the end of the race was just saying, like, hey, I'm here. But he knew that he wasn't going to be anything egregious like Joe Logano's done in the past, like many other drivers have done in the past, like Austin Dillon at Richmond. There's been several instances. I actually watched a clip that had like several instances of different drivers doing the same thing. I'm like, it happens more than you actually think at the end of the day. It just seems like recent memory kind of comes to more fruition. So I just want to shout out those two drivers, because I feel like we wouldn't be doing the race justice if we didn't mention, obviously, the two other cars that could have won the race if they weren't damaged. Honestly, I thought Gibbs was going to be finishing better than Zilich did. It didn't look like Gibbs had much damage. It was just all to the back end of the car. And then here comes Zilich just coming through the middle of the road course, just passing people like crazy. It's like the seas were parting from the man. It's like he was Moses on the track. It was wild. Any other overall thoughts that you guys have for the Xfinity Series race?
Nope.
I thought it was a great crowd for an series race. Just to kind of echo what we've said on here about the atmosphere and the fan turnout, I thought for an Xfinity Series race it was pretty good and pretty hyped. Kudos to the Mexican fans.
I think that I wish Prime did the broadcast so we could have actually heard the fans a little bit more, because you could hear it on the CW network, but the way Prime has everything mic'd up, it would have been crazy to hear Suarez coming by in the stadium in that last lap. That would have been absolutely
I have to imagine
iconic.
the only thing to compare it to would be, Dale at Talladega. Either Dale, senior or junior at Talladega. I think that'd be the only comparison, I feel like. Or maybe, I've seen Chase Elliott take the lead in Atlanta. That gets loud, but
yeah, no doubt.
Anyways, but yeah, that's I'm sorry, not Atlanta, Echo Park. My bad, guys.
Wow.
How dare you? How dare you not name it the correct name?
Look,
That's been named for like 2 weeks.
I told somebody, I said, look, I don't care what it identifies as. It's Atlanta.
That's right.
That's how I identify it.
I was going to say, that's how everybody's going to call it. If they're new to NASCAR, that might be what they'll call it. They'll call it Echo Park.
I mean, when I was a kid, I said Lowe's Motor Speedway just because that was all I'd ever known. But
that's how I used to call it. I did the same thing.
Yep.
I've always just called it Charlotte because, that's where we're from. So I just felt natural to call it Charlotte.
And you would have probably had a lot of people around you that always called it Charlotte. And you'd been like, what's this Lowe's Motor Speedway everyone's talking about? So
what the heck is this Lowe's Motor Speedway? Is it beside Charlotte?
Is it at Lowe's Home Improvements?
Yeah, and I don't know if y'all talked about this, in an episode that I missed because I've missed a couple.
Which one?
Right, last two, namely. But hey, how cool is it that sponsors are trying to get in the sport even on that level? I mean, we saw it, and we've still seen it, but like Auto Club, may rest in peace, sis. And then
I think I said, but if only we had a good worn out 2-mile track.
Yeah, I know, right? Dadgum. But no, it's just, I do think it's cool that sponsorship's trying to get into it. I just wish that they would not change the name of historic racetracks. But anyways.
It's a big commitment too, to make, stadium, like for instance, when NBA Stadium signs the leases or whatnot to change the name, it's a big change. Like the Staples Center when it changed to whatever the frick it is now, whatever. I don't know. I don't keep up with NBA basketball nearly as much, but when it makes those changes, most people are just like, yeah, it's still the Staples Center. It's what it'll always be called in my head. It just comes down to that stubbornness of probably Southern folks in general, anyways. They're just like, I ain't changing nothing. It don't matter. But it is cool to see, Echo Park's been a really big engager in the fan zones and stuff. A lot of the fan zones have been Echo Park oriented marketing and whatnot. So that's really cool. Been seeing a lot of advertisements and stuff that's actually got drivers in it. It's especially with Prime coming up, they've been doing a really good job about marketing with the brands that are with Prime. And then on top of that, having the drivers actually in the commercials, which I mean, most people are like, well, whatever. But to me, that's cool. It reminds me of like, Michael Waltrip in the Napa commercials of old. Pretty much name any driver.
Yeah.
I'm at the wrong track.
But yeah, I think the engagement and course Cookout's been one of those big sponsors that's come out here lately, especially if you're from the South. Cookout's like a staple, especially, if you need to eat somewhere and it's like after 1 o'clock, that's the place to go because everything else is closed around here.
Yeah.
It's not like the West Coast where everything stays open till like 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Cookout's like what's a good way to describe it? Cookout's like the hangout place in the South.
It's like a Waffle House, but more, like drive-in style. It's kind of like a Sonic, I guess, but it's like a Southern Sonic. I think that's about the best comparison that I can kind of put it towards.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah, Cookout. Man, I know when I was in college, we had many a good trips to Cookout at about 2 in the morning.
Milkshakes are the die for, man.
See, I just went to Waffle House at 2 in the morning right there at
Yeah.
near where Capitol Boulevard comes across right there. So, anyways,
I drove by there once and I just seen like the pancake batter just falling off the front of it, and I'm like, that's how you know they're making good waffles and
It's-
pancakes there.
it's
It's when the
great.
batter's coming
it's
down
great.
me. But I'd love to see Waffle House get in there too, because obviously Butterbean's been doing a big thing where he's like talking about he's going after Waffle House when he wins and stuff. So it'd be cool to see them get engaged into the ordeal of NASCAR. But we'll go ahead and transition to Cup here because man, it's another thing for me is obviously I'm a pretty big SVG fan. I have all of his race win diecast beside of me right now. It was great to see, but the sad thing is the man was literally like 32nd in points, and now he's going to be in the playoffs because he won one race, and then people are pitching freaking fits over it, man. It's terrible.
I do think that they should probably bring back. You got to be at least in the top 30. I mean, because that would get rid of your scenarios like your Harrison Burton's last year, but see SVG, he still got some kind of like point his way, but into that top 30, but and to make himself look a little bit more credible. But yeah, it's wild because like when you look at somebody who's like 14th to 16th, they're putting together some really decent finishes. Of maybe if they're a 20th place car, they're getting 17th out of it. Those who are really, really grinding and probably should make that last spot, they're not going to be able to. But it's been about winning, in Trackhouse. They played their cards right because, I mean, who cares how SVG runs for 25 races in the regular season? If he can win one road course, I mean, that they get much more money from the playoffs. They get from the charter. They get a lot more money from the standings. So they played the system right with getting SVG into a Cup car. So
I think that's a good point, is because based upon just the points position that they'll have being in the playoffs, even if they go out in the first round, they're making a lot more money overall based upon their performance in this one race. And that's not saying that, SVG can't win another couple races. You got Chicago, you got Sonoma, you got Watkins Glen. Of course, I mean, it wouldn't be point standing wise probably at the point when it comes to the Roval, but he'll be in the Roval too. And if he wins the race, that's more money on top. If he wins, first place, obviously, you get the prize pool of what the money is there. But there's a lot of good chances. And of course, you also have those Talladegas. You got those Daytonas. You got those oddball ones where he could find his way up front. Trackhouse has got a decent super speedway program. I won't say it's the best, obviously, but I mean, we've seen Ross up front, we've seen Suarez up front in these plate tracks. It's definitely, there's a lot going on here. So, but I mean, I'm obviously happy, so I can't act like I'm not biased seeing SVG win. But one thing that people aren't taking into consideration is obviously this is his first year in Cup, and he had some experience on those Xfinity cars, but those cars and the Cup cars are nothing alike.
No.
Like and that's what he kind of said in his interview after is like every track that he's gone back to this year is basically like anything in the Xfinity car, he's just throwing it in the trash because it's basically wasted because these cars are just a whole different ball game. And Suarez was a former Xfinity Series champion, right?
Yeah.
And him winning the Xfinity Series kind of shows that, yeah, he has experience in those cars. If Ty Gibbs ran a lot more races in the Xfinity Series, I could see him winning a couple of races because he's a former champion. But when they make these changes to these Cup cars, it's a big difference, in all honesty.
Animal, that's for sure.
So I was happy to see SVG win, obviously. I mean, put the belt to him at the end of the race.
Sure. Man, they should have just called the race at about lap 75 because, man, he was dominant.
Yeah. And it's funny to me because obviously everybody heard the thing between him and his crew chief. His crew chief's like, yo, just slow down a little bit, manage your equipment. He's like, hey, just shut up, man. Let me do my thing.
Yeah.
Because once you get in a certain rhythm at those road course races and you tell someone to slow down, man, all it takes is burn up your tires one time, flat spot a tire, and you're screwed, you know?
Well, and I'll be honest too. If I'm a crew chief and I've got SVG as my driver and he's about 15 seconds ahead, I ain't saying crap to him.
I cut the radio off till he crosses the checker flag, probably, or at least tell him it's white flag.
He even said in his interview that it messes him up more if he has to slow down. He's out of focus. That he'd just rather just grind the laps out, which I don't blame him.
I mean, he's 36 years old. He's got experience these road courses, and it's kind of funny because how old is Kyle Busch now?
40?
He's almost he's almost in his 40s, right?
I think he's 40 actually.
That's crazy.
So SVG is younger than Kyle Busch by 4 years, but obviously Kyle Busch has been very vocal about how this next gen car, how it's not been in his wheelhouse. It's been hard for him to learn. Imagine coming into the sport completely new. I would say it probably benefits you, in a way, learning this car right off the bat and not having that, the textbook reference of the older gen car compared to the newer gen car. It's like SVG's got a better leg up when it comes to the Cup cars, and he just came into the sport not long ago, which is just wild to think about.
What also helps SVG on a weekend like this is a lot of Cup guys have never been there before. And essentially it's kind of like Chicago a little bit, when they go into a track and nobody's really ever raced there, he definitely has the upper hand. But at a place like Watkins Glen, like that's where somebody like a Chris Buescher can come up and beat him, right? But yeah, it's in a new track, he's hard pressed to make a mistake because he's definitely got a talent to him for sure.
Well, speaking about mistakes, man, what about that old 77? Sending it really hard into that corner, literally a lap down, by the way. As far as a lap down at this point, I think Stenhouse was still on the lead lap, and locks the tires up and wrecks Ricky, and you have that nice confrontation at the end of the race where Ricky Stenhouse says, "It's okay, man. Don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine." Right? That's totally what
I can't fight. I just want the fist fight.
So, was there more to this fight not taking place in Mexico?
So I think the main ordeal is just they didn't want, if there was a fight, you don't know how the authorities would take.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, because I
Mhm.
mean, you don't know the laws necessarily at the racetrack
Yeah.
in Mexico compared to Alabama or Atlanta or something like that, right?
Yeah, from what
To be
I
honest, I've
understand,
lived.
Mexican prisons are not U.S. prisons. That is for sure.
Maybe
That's a
Kyle
great
Busch got hold of
observation.
them before they went, and I'm
He
surprised
told
he
him
didn't have a warrant out. Still.
they actually had to get that cleared up before he went. They had to
I thought
he had to
so.
get like a pardon and everything. I think it's kind of how
That's
that
wild.
worked.
What
So
exactly did he do? I heard about that, but nobody
he brought
Traveled
told
with
me.
a
a
handgun.
gun into Mexico over the border. He forgot that he had it in his car.
Apparently,
The
you can
heck?
only do that if you're part of the cartel. So,
That's right.
anyways,
All he had to do was just get his membership card right there on the
Yeah.
border, and he would have been fine.
yeah, he'd have been okay. They'd have let him pass.
I mean, I've lived in
This guy's
Ecuador
gonna
for
use
2
it on us.
years.
Let him go.
Just tell
Me,
when the M&Ms.
oh gosh.
Oh, we're going to. All right. Anyway,
Yeah, we are.
Well, speaking of Kyle Busch, Blake, I'll let you take this one away since this one hurts you internally.
yeah,
We had a little bit of inclement weather, we'll call it, precipitation, a little rain, which is always fun. It adds a nice little extra strategy. Usually, your drivers that are old school, like dirt track, like a Christopher Bell, SVG. I know he's not a dirt track racer, but I feel like SVG would be a really good dirt track racer. In all honesty, the way that he can conserve tires and stuff, I think that'd be a fun thing for him to venture into. It might actually help his ovals in general. But someone that had a little struggle in the rain was Kyle Busch, right?
yeah.
And took out a couple of cars, just a few cars, nobody of a prominent name or anything.
Man, it was unfortunate because I picked Larson for this weekend, and which is a shame because in our pick'em series, when you pick Larson, you don't expect to get a fourth freaking place. But yeah, I guess he just lost it in the rain, and then he tags Justin Haley, and then he comes back and just kind of pounds Kyle Larson and
Door slams the frick out of him.
or slams the crap out of him. And so Larson's 34 laps down when he comes back onto the track.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would be lying if I didn't say, you know what? I hope that one of y'all's guys gets a DNF with about 36 to go. That way,
I think Kyle thought he still probably would be able to catch Calf and Leg, but I don't know.
No, wasn't able to do it. I think she finished 33rd this week.
Yes.
32nd. Look, give her some
My
more
bad.
respect.
My
Yeah,
bad.
come on, man.
Respect.
I apologize.
misogynist.
This is
Golly.
that's funny
What
coming
guy?
from
That
the
one position matters.
That's funny coming from, Kent, the guy that literally put leg through the ringer every single week that he's been in the podcast.
I'll do it again. Can I do it? I'm going to do it again. I'm not even going to ask for permission.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah, she doesn't belong there yet. And I'm not saying that it's not that she'll never belong there. She just needs to prove herself in some other stock car series before she goes there and continues to embarrass herself. But she's making money, and I'm sure she's happy about it, so she's going to continue to do it. But it's nothing personal against her. It's just she ain't ready. So
She's
anyways.
even admitted it that she's not ready.
Yeah, and I think that's where NASCAR could step in and say, "Oh, yeah, no, then how about
Really?
let's not get in the car this weekend? No, let's."
She should go down to the ARCA series and run with Amber
Absolutely.
Balkan. That's where I think she would belong great.
Well, and she would also have an opportunity to develop with the stock car discipline, right? And at least come up into the Cup Series and not wreck and take out top 10 drivers, rep Daniel Suarez at Phoenix. But anyways,
I agree.
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean,
Good old
I
Phoenix.
want her to succeed. I want her to do well. I really do.
Yeah, same.
But they're not setting her up for success.
No.
And also with these lower cars, I mean, Live Fast is not going to be a top of the line road course car. I mean,
it's not going to be a top of the line anything car.
Maybe plate tracks. Maybe. We've seen BJ McLeod make some miracles happen. But that's also BJ McLeod racing,
crack
right?
the top 15.
Yes, that's a miracle when it comes to those cars.
I mean, honestly. But I mean, so yeah. I mean, like I said, I want her to do well. I think that'd be cool. I think it'd be good for the sport. But no, that's not I think the thing that really irked me was when, she did not qualify for Rockingham, yet went and I guess her sponsor or whatever, they bought out her teammate's ride. She drove it right into Casey Kane in the one race that he had scheduled for the season. Like that irked me. But anyways,
I think that was more Swalich. I think at that point it was Swalich. Swalich hit leg, and then
I don't
it
know. When you're
wasn't.
trying to navigate a moving chicane, I mean, mid corner, you don't expect her to be going that slow. I don't know. I don't really fault him, but
You see it half a track away. Like the spotter can be like, "Hey, there's a slow car in the middle." Like I feel like there's such a simple fix to that.
yeah, and it might be that he drove into the center thinking, okay, I'll make up my mind and decide where to go when I get to her, and then he got to her and was like, shoot,
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I mean, did you guys know that she made 4 starts in 2018 Xfinity Series?
Yep.
yeah, I'd heard that.
Yeah.
Her average finish was 26th then in the Xfinity Series. Her average finish so far for this year is 34th. So it's been a rough go. Her average finish in Cup though is 31st. So I mean she's about top 30. That's pretty decent.
She got a better average than SVG in points, it looks like.
Goodness. I
Hey,
think,
she's doing a better job than Austin Dillon.
where is Austin in points? Last time I checked, he was near the cut line.
Yeah, I want to say he's top 20.
Yeah.
I don't even.
I was going to look at Riley Hurt's driver average to see how close him and leg, whatever. Anyways,
I forget Hurts is full time in the Cup Series. I just forget.
Everybody else does too. Don't worry.
That's crazy.
He did really good this week, though. In all honesty, Riley Herbst did a great job this week.
I mean, to me, it's just another monster car out there running 25th. I mean, I hate to be like that, but it's what it is.
Austin Dillon is actually 27th in points right now.
Okay.
So,
I know at one point he was in the top 20, though.
Yeah, and then they had to turn right. So,
yeah, that's fair. Well, it's funny that you mentioned Ty Gibbs, Blake. Talk about how good Ty Gibbs was this week. Overall in the Cup Series, he was definitely not in the 20s, let me tell you.
Definitely. Look, that is accurate. He even snuck him in a stage win there at stage 2, didn't he? And so.
No, he didn't. SVG stayed out.
I thought Ty Gibbs won stage 2.
No, he pitted. SVG stayed out.
Because I thought it happened under caution.
You talking about the Cup race or the Xfinity race?
Yeah, Cup race.
No, SVG got the stage win.
Really?
Yeah, I got a stage point this week.
Well, dang, that kind of.
Yeah, and there are no playoff points at all listed for Ty Gibbs.
Okay, I thought a caution happened while Ty Gibbs was out, and then
no, he pitted.
Okay,
that's where the strategy came in. SVG stayed out because he thought it was going to rain.
I got it.
Yeah.
I must have looked away right when I thought the stage was over and did something else, I guess.
He was asleep, probably.
No, I was doing some Father's Day traveling.
Okay.
Yeah.
While you were asleep.
He was over there celebrating. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was certainly one thing I was not expecting by picking SVG was getting a freaking stage point this week, but I was like, all right, I'll take it, I reckon. I was fully expecting him to pit with Gibbs, but it worked out for him. Somehow, some way, it worked out for old SVG. Which was his pit crew that made that decision at the last second, so props to them. Which we'll probably talk about here in a little bit, but get back to Gibbs. I just want to make sure that I did mention that he had a fantastic car. It's just he used it all up in the first 2 stages.
Yeah, he did.
All that equipment he used up in those first 2 stages. So when it came to the end of the race, that man had nothing left. I mean, he was sitting there battling Ross for 11th, I think, at the end of the race, 10th or something. They were just going back and forth. And that car was on par or faster. It was faster than the SVG at the start of the race, in all honesty.
It was.
Had a It had a lot more speed to it. Either they didn't make enough adjustments to keep up with the track, or it's just he used all of it up, or it was a combination of the two. Man, it was. I considered picking Gibbs this week in Cup, in all honesty. I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad I went with the guy that I did. But it's funny enough, Kent, I was going to pick McDowell if Austin picked SVG. And when he didn't pick SVG, I was like, okay. I'm like, do I pick McDowell or do I pick SVG? And I'm like, I feel kind of dumb if I don't pick SVG now, because 3 races from now it'd be Sonoma, so I have him back for Sonoma if I pick SVG now. But
Yeah, I was hoping that you were going to let him go.
When Austin picked Busher, I was like, Busher's really good at road course races, but
I was hoping y'all hand him down to me in 4th.
yeah, there was no way SVG was going to make it to the bottom.
I know.
But Larson did for you.
He stayed at the bottom. He didn't make his way to the bottom. He stayed there. No shame, because I thought Larson probably could have at least got me a couple stage points or whatnot and tried to rack up some playoff points. Just wrong place, wrong time, I guess. Yeah, that was tough. I mean, like I said, when you pick Larson, you're trying to get at least a second, and then when you get a 4th in the first 6 laps, that's a gut punch.
Yeah, it's definitely tough when you got the next 2 races are Pocono, which Larson does pretty decent at Pocono. He ain't a fantastic Pocono racer by any means, but Atlanta, he literally finished, what was it, 2nd this year in the spring? 3rd, 2nd, something like that, because he had 3 cars lined up 1, 2, 3 at the end of the race. Hocevar was in the middle.
Yeah, I think there's a few other guys that would be maybe a little bit better off to pick, so that's why I was all right going with him, but I obviously should not have.
Yeah. So, but it's water underneath the bridge, Blake. You're only, let's see here.
I'm only tied with Ken, 11 points out from the lead.
Yeah, y'all were both at 39.
When I pulled within 4, then I was just like, man, I got it.
Minute streak.
And then it absolutely died a miserable, brutal, bloody death. Anyways, that was fun.
You know who did that to you, too? It was Logano. Because you picked Logano, and then he ended up winning, and then he got disqualified.
I'm not ready to relive that. Golly, I hate him. I hate him. Hey, but I'd pick him again if he'll finish last. I'll pick him again and make him finish last. I'm picking him at Phoenix for the championship. Absolutely.
If he's in contention,
I don't even care. Yeah, if he's like 13th in points, then I'm still like Logano and watch it just burn. But anyways,
that's the way to really stick it, Dawes.
Absolutely. Your guy in racing. Anyways.
Since Austin's not here, I got to stand up for him. Our boy Joey's going for number 4 this year.
I can't imagine being a Joey fan and an Austin fan at the same time, man.
I've actually told Austin to see that.
That's the dimensions of the world that you are in.
I used to hate Joey Logano with a passion. Used to hate him. Now I love him. Austin Dillon just kind of falling behind. So, I mean, I still support him, but I'm more like Joey's like kind of like pushing in that number 1 spot. And Austin's kind of like falling, back behind a little bit. Still hoping my boy Kyle Busch does something, but, he might be
Maybe one day, man. Maybe
he
one day.
He did something this past weekend, all right.
He forgot how to drive.
In general, be around Kyle Busch if it's raining. Just in general. Like, y'all remember New Hampshire several years back?
Oh, yeah.
At least I don't think he hit a pace car this time, so we're...
I can't say Larson can't be too mad because he did the same thing at Chicago last year. He locked up the brakes in Chicago and just sent it into the wall in the rain.
Hey, it was comforting to not see 14 cautions in a row with Noah Gragson in the same turn.
That's fair.
Amen.
Yeah, that was definitely good.
But, I mean, that wasn't Chicago, so I don't know. We'll see.
But, there's a lot of discussions when it comes to the race this week. SVG winning throws the points on a complete just 180, 360, 420. Like, it's just a constant moving spiral because now the cut line's obviously moved and you got people like Bowman that's really close. I mean, Bowman had a good day overall, which, I mean, you kind of expect with being, on a road course, which next few weeks for him are going to be make or break, but there's some really good courses coming up for him too. Chicago, he does really well. Obviously won the race last year, but all the road courses that are coming up, I believe he'll probably be able to throw some points on top of that. But poor Ricky, man. There's so many storylines coming into Pocono, right? I know it was announced today that Spire actually fined Hocevar $50,000.
Can y'all think of another time that a team has a driver? That's a genuine question. I think Spire did the right thing to kind of get on the right side of the story.
So when Larson had his ordeal, wasn't it Chip Ganassi that made the?
Now I know he initially suspended him before NASCAR had a chance to, I believe.
Yeah. So I think maybe he fined him too.
Maybe.
But that's the only other instance that I can
to
think
Spire.
of.
I mean, they're probably thinking we can find our own driver 50,000, or NASCAR can find us 100.
Yeah.
So I mean,
financial decisions.
Yeah, honestly, they made money out of that deal.
They did.
And
That's marketing right there.
the money. And the money that they're finding is actually going to Mexico. It's all charitable stuff that's going towards Mexico.
Oh, that's cool. So essentially, they're making them say, "All right, look, you're putting 50,000 into this community."
Yeah.
So that's actually really cool.
That's actually not bad.
And the terrible thing is, it's just Hocevar's so young. He's younger than us, right?
He's like 22.
Yeah. So
I'm 25.
I'm older. I'm 24.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying here is he's not quite mastered the art of thinking before he says something. That's just something that's not come to him. He's so young at this point. He just doesn't think before he says stuff. So, and it's even worse when you're doing it on a live stream for everybody to see. And you're talking about a racetrack that you've not even turned a lap on yet.
I think that's just
before
stupid.
you even make the trip there.
Way to get everybody to hate you.
Yeah. But in all honesty, when this all came out, he like wore it on his chest. He's like, I made a bad decision. This was stupid. Why did I say this? It's like he knows he's making the mistakes. It's kind of like when it comes to the truck series, when he was getting in all of those freaking Hocevar accidents where he was just punting people. I mean, when he wrecked Corey Heim at the end of the end of the year.
Yeah, Phoenix. That was
horrific.
That was a tough look.
And he was sitting there like banging his fist against the truck because he knew he made a stupid decision when he was in. He's like making the same mistakes when it comes off the track now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, it's a balance, right? Because you appreciate somebody that's got the personality he does.
Absolutely, 100%.
But whether you think it be deemed true of another country or not, in a public spotlight the way that you are in, you do have to be careful what you say, because it does go a lot more further than just the words there, especially when you're trying to market to a new crowd and you got one of your drivers who is, essentially calling it a crappy country, right? I mean, that's not a great PR look. So I think he'll learn from it. I hope he doesn't change a thing on the racetrack, and I hope he doesn't change much on his Twitch either. But yeah, he can't be calling out other countries like that when they're trying to promote the sport and grow the audience.
Well, I would prefer that he not lock his brakes up when he's a lap down and wreck somebody that's on the lead lap at a road course race.
For sure. I'm talking about the aggression. Now the stupid stuff.
That's technically aggression if you really want to think about it, because the reason they locked the brakes up is because he's going too hard.
Was it a mistake though, or was he just being dumb with it? Like, did he go full send?
He's the judge of that, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Everybody watches it different. I mean, in all honesty.
But now, I mean, especially because when, SVG's out by 15 seconds, and you see somebody just plow drive somebody a lap down. I mean, that.
Imagine if the caution would have came out.
Yeah, he was definitely adding a storyline into it. But no, I mean, I don't want him to change his aggression by any means. I think there's some proper ways to use that aggression, right?
Yeah, you got to limit it. You got to put limitations on the situations that you are in where you can use that aggression.
Yeah, I just look. I love Ross, but man, I do kind of miss the days where people were talking about Ross's aggression, you know. And I hope that, and then I guess somebody in the Hendrick camp had to calm him down. And um, I mean, he's still aggressive, right? But you love seeing those storylines. Like I'd I'd love to see Ross still have some of those same storylines. So I hope that Hocevar doesn't tame all the way down to the point where like you don't hear much out of him anymore. You know, because I mean he's great for the fans. He's great for the sport. I mean he gives. I mean podcasters, radio, whatever, something to talk about.
For sure. He's a constant topic, it feels like, week in and week out.
And I love it.
I think that like we said before, there's limitations where if you play the game the right way, but you're aggressive playing the game, it's perfectly fine. But when you're starting to go out of the boundaries of the game, so to speak, that's when it starts to get a little dicey. So that's where he's got to clean up on the track, and then off the track, he's definitely got to clean up. You can't be saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, all right, boys, we're going to move on to Pocono. If you guys are fine, SVG won the race. So, I mean, there's really not much to say when you have a 15-second gap at the end of the race. Obviously, he was sick as well, so that was like his flu game. And apparently, there's a record when SVG is sick, like overall, back when he used to race supercars, he used to do the same thing where he would just absolutely beat the crap out of everybody. So, so he's just got the
Y'all
Michael
remember
Jordan in
Tony
him.
Stewart's sick race?
Yes, yes.
I just
Wild.
always thought he was in a hurry to the bathroom.
Aren't
That
we
was
all?
awesome. That's the truth.
Like me at Bowman Gray.
You didn't even make it to the bathroom, brother. You just puked all over the bushes.
Well, thank God that tour bus had a bathroom.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. You made it to that, so that's good.
Whether
So,
we call that a bathroom or not.
alrighty. So we actually got all three series this week. We got the trucks, Xfinity and Cup at Pocono. I'm glad to see the trucks back. Man, I would love to see the trucks run Mexico City next year if they could do it, if they could fit all the cars there, but there's just no logistical way that they'll probably be able to fit all three haulers there if they go back. But there's a couple of drivers that are making open starts, well, so to speak. Brandon Jones is back in the one for Tricon this week. Norm Benning is back doing Norm Benning things. Host of ours going to be driving the 7 truck this week. Gio Ruggiero, of course, in the 17. Daniel Hemrick, 19. I'm just going through the list because they didn't put anything specifically different this week on the listing, which is kind of odd. Tyler Tomasi will be making a start in the 69 truck. I think that's the first truck that's been number 69 in a while. So it's nice to see 69 back. I mean, mainly Brandon Jones and Hocevar would be the two name values that you'd see in the truck series this week for the MillerTech Battery 200. Move on to the Xfinity series. You got the Explorer, the Pocono Mountains 250. I always find it cool when they're able to do like a tourism sponsor when it comes to the events. It's always good for just the name value, especially being at Pocono Raceway. The 07 will have Patrick Emmerling, the 14 of Garrett Smithley, the 17 of Chase Elliott making another start in that 17 car that will be sponsored by Hendrick Cars, 19 of Justin Bonsinger. I hate saying that name. I love Justin, though. He's a good guy. Carson Ware, 45 of Mason Massey. Leland Honeyman will be making a start in the 70. Dawson Cram in the 74. And Josh Bolicki in the 91. The 53 is still to be announced. And also making his Cup debut for this year, Brandon Poole will be making a start in the 44 in the Cup Series for the Great American Gateway 400. So I don't believe that he made a start in the Cup Series earlier this year. This would be his first race. So that's pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Alrighty. Brett, is there anything that you want to speak specifically about Pocono? I know that you said that obviously the Mexico City was kind of the main reason that you wanted to jump on, but is there anything prominent that you want to talk about Pocono?
He wanted me to pretty much give the rundown of the track, like the info, the banking, and all the turns, who does the best, like basically a rundown of what the whole thing of Pocono
So
track.
you're doing Austin's job for him. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes,
Freeloader.
sir. Yes, sir.
What the heck?
Well,
What
well,
the
well,
heck,
well, he's not a
Austin?
preloader. I asked him if there's anything I can do to help out,
That's
but
that's good.
I'll try to make you proud, I promise.
That's the image that I pulled up. That kind of shows you all the turns and whatnot.
Okay, so for our listeners, we have the basic track info. It is located in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. It's nicknamed the Tricky Triangle, hence the why it looks like a triangle. Its length is 2.5 miles, or for our overseas people, 4 kilometers. It was opened in 1971, and it's owned by oh my gosh, I hate pronouncing this name, the Matilo family, I think.
Good job. I'm sure that's right.
I don't think so.
Just roll with it. Keep going. You got this.
And then we got the 3 turns, and they're all different. They're modeled after the 3 different tracks. Turn 1 is 14 degrees banking, like Trendon Speedway. I've never heard of that. Turn 2 is 8-degree banking, like Indianapolis. It's tight and it's flat. And then you have turn 3, which is a 6-degree banking, like the Milwaukee Mild, and it is your wide sweeping turn. For your front straight, it is 3,740 feet long. And then your
A lot of feet.
back straight is 3,055 feet. Short shoot, which I don't know where that is on, thank you, is 1,780 feet. And what makes Pocono unique and difficult is each of the corners are different. Setup is very challenging. Drafting matters a lot, especially on the restarts there. It's you're doing a lot of braking into the corners. It's almost like a road course, but on the in an oval configuration. We really can't call this an oval, but and something I found out pretty exciting, or I didn't know this was in my research, was that a lot of drivers downshift into turn 1 and 3, and I didn't know that. I thought they just pretty much would leave it in, fifth gear or something and just roll it around, or fourth gear. And pit strategies can be weird, and it can definitely be a fuel mileage race. And also the weather plays a big factor here. For the summertime, we've had a lot of rain delays, and it takes a long time for this track to dry because of just the way it's shaped. And restarts can be very chaotic with them going 4 or 5 wide, especially on NASCAR Heat 5 with the AI who don't know how to drive. We have a lot of Carson
That's
hosts of ours
sure.
out there. Drove the race this weekend on my PlayStation, and I'll say I was driving as Denny Hamlin, and I got taken out by PJ McLeod. Kent's driver William Byron caused a pileup and completely wrecked half the field. So,
Woohoo!
Nice.
and then in stage 3, we were leading with 5 to go, and Greg Biffle forgot how to drive and pretty much caused me to lose the race. I went from first to
Where the
last.
heck did Greg Biffle come from? You got all these current drivers, and you just have Greg Biffle coming through with
Well,
his sleeves cut off,
it's the
probably.
22 layout for the drivers for the Heat 5.
So that reminds me of when I was on iRacing, and when they first released the AI, they did it for certain tracks at a time, and it was all like they're fixing it, they're figuring it out, and where was it that I would race? I can't remember, but I would race one, and as soon as the caution would come out, you pull up. I'd pull up behind the pace car. Right, you're just kind of chilling there, and then next thing you know, here comes the AI at 189 miles an hour. Boom, just knock you just clean into the grandstands, and you're just like, what the heck? Like, I couldn't get out of the way. It was just absolutely terrible. So, anyways, so I feel you on that. That's not all.
No, but I was having a crap day anyways, and I was happy because I got Denny Hamlin's car got wrecked, and I'm not a big Hamlin fan, so
Neither is Kent.
but
Kent's
your
right there with you.
top drivers who do the best at Pocono is Denny Hamlin. He swept both races as a rookie in 2006. He's won in every from 2006 and all the series of the different generations of the Cup cars, which is pretty cool. Kyle Busch has multiple wins late in the 2010s and 2020 before he went to RCR. William Byron has consecutive top 5 finishes since 2020, so he's always somebody to think of. And Chase Elliott rarely dominates, but almost is always in the top 10. He did win in 2020 after Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch were both disqualified. And then your other notable drivers, Ryan Blaney won in 27. He's a hit or miss. Joey Logano is very strong in his early career there with Joe Gibbs running the Home Depot car. And then Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain are your current fast learners and drivers who are still learning to develop Pocono. And I think another thing that really, to me, maybe helps a lot is where you qualify as to where your pit box is too. Because in NASCAR, I qualified dead last, but I get the first pit box, which doesn't make any sense. In Heat 5, maybe there's a problem with the game or something, but also that's just another thing because my dad let me run a quick race on iRacing, so I did that and qualified, I think, 20th, and that definitely made a factor with the pit stops, trying to get into your box quick and being, it may help being the last box or the first box, but also it has their advantages. But I think that's everything I have.
Already. Well, Pocono is a very historically driven track, right? You got any fancy history for us this week?
Yeah, so something I learned that I did not know, you know, really. So, well, first of all, and I did know this, but Brett mentioned it. I just think it's really cool that this is kind of a conglomerate of like 3 different tracks, right? Um, and I think the one that stands out the most, even looking at this picture that you've got on the screen, it's so easy to look at it and see that corner of Indianapolis, right? Just stands out, that 90-degree tunnel turn right there. And of course, called the tunnel turn because of the tunnel that actually goes underneath it right there that creates a little bit of a bump right in the middle of it. Can upset your car and get you loose. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute because I got 2 things that I'll mention. First of all, if you look at the bottom, look close to pit road, you notice this tiny little oval on the front stretch.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You're highlighting it right there. That is the original Pocono Raceway, opened in 1968, 3/4
Wow.
mile track. And so that's what this opened as. And then, of course, they added, the long front stretch. They added the 3 turns to create the Pocono Raceway that we see today and that we see race. This is actually one of my favorite tracks. Whether it was, when I had the iRacing rig and I would drive on there, or even, when I'm on Heat 5 or whatever it is, this was always one of my favorite tracks to drive because of how different you attack each turn. Going into turn 1, you're really you're trying to get off the throttle a little bit earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to get as much speed as you possibly can by getting in the throttle sooner on exit, carrying that momentum down the backstretch. And the tunnel curve, it's a game of chicken because you're trying to see how little. There was a time around 2019, 2020, that they stayed in the gas for that corner, which is absolutely insane to think about.
Yes.
Just ridiculous. But they would stay in the gas for that corner. But you're trying to see, okay, what's the latest that I can get out and the earliest I can get back into the throttle, the best angle I can hit it. Because if not, you're, like I said, there is a tunnel right there that creates a bump, and it's going to upset your car. It's going to upset the handling. You're going to want to make sure that you do the best you can getting through there, and then attacking turn three. Again, long sweeping. You're off the throttle. You know, a lot of times this is the corner that they gear down. Probably this in turn one. I don't think they gear down, and I could be wrong. I don't think they gear down in the tunnel turn, but they do in turn one and in this turn three. And then they head down the front stretch toward what turn four. So, but anyways, just I mean, it's just such a cool track. In my opinion, I know it hadn't always had the most exciting racing. Although for you, Cole, it might have had one of your most exciting finishes when Kyle Larson pancaked to the fence coming out of the final turn and Alex Bowman drove it to victory lane. I was on my way to Bowman Gray that day for a race, and I was listening to the radio in the car when that happened, going, "No way, no way!"
Kyle Larson doing Kyle Larson things.
Look, he pushes it to the limit. He knows how to push his equipment to its. He knows how to find the limit, and not find the limit and like avoid the limit, but find the limit and it's like, oh crap. But anyways, but yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize that 3/4 mile oval is there, and that originally was the you know Pocono Raceway. Now, as for just a little bit of history, Pocono has been known for some very, very violent crashes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start a little bit more recent. You had Bubba Wallace kind of lose his brakes when he was driving the 43 going into turn one. And so he cut it left into the grass. I think that was probably a smart move. Either that or to ride the fence would have been maybe a little bit better option. But still, when you lose your brakes going, he was probably going at least 200. So just smashed. I think he hit Jimmy Johnson and the wall. And so
He
just
did.
just absolutely destroyed it. I think of Jeff Gordon in 2006 in the tunnel turn. He just lost it and turned around, hit the driver's side door. It's a wonder. I mean, I'm sure he had a concussion. Just brutal lick, and to see the damage on the left side of that car. I mean, it went all the way to the roll cage, exposed the interior of the car. Just absolutely massive hit. Probably the biggest in Jeff Gordon's career. Maybe arguably not quite as big as the one in Las Vegas, right, where he lost his radiator in '08, but perhaps one of the worst crashes. You can't glaze over Elliott Sadler's crash.
Yeah.
That's the one that comes to mind. Anytime somebody says Pocono, that's the crash that always comes to my mind.
Absolutely. And just when you talk about it being such a violent crash, and I remember watching this live and going, whoa, you can see him move forward in his car seat a very disturbing amount. But there is no footage of what happens to that car after it gets in the corner. I think there is one very, very blurry fan video. And it's just 2010. So like one very blurry fan video that shows him get airborne on the backstretch. From the damage of the car, we can kind of figure out he did get upside down at some point, ripped the whole engine out of
Mm-hmm.
that car. I want to ask y'all, do you think NASCAR is sitting on footage of that wreck? If so, why have they yet to reveal it to the public?
I haven't thought about it, to be honest. I might have to rain check that one until next. Well, till whenever I'm back on again and get you an answer. But I'm not exactly sure. What's your
I 100% believe that there's footage somewhere of this car flipping. There's no shot. It's 2010, right? NASCAR knew how to broadcast at this point. It was probably the pinnacle part of NASCAR broadcasting. That's pretty close to the golden days. It wasn't Speed. Was Speed Channel still 2010? Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably footage out there that's not being appropriately shown.
I think there's footage for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not. I mean, I wish we could see it. That just sounds wrong. No, I mean, when I saw that crash, I was actually at a restaurant with my dad and my grandpa, and we were like, he might be dead. When we saw
Yeah.
the wreck, my dad was like trying to look on his phone because they turned off the TV at the restaurant. So we put the race on his phone, and they were like, my grandpa's like, we may have just witnessed, the next big wreck compared to Dale Earnhardt Sr. And I remember my sister was laughing about it, like, oh, he's okay. The car just fell apart in my sister. And I'm like, no, he might be dead. It's crazy.
I wonder, in all honesty, why they haven't released that footage at this point if it's there, because
I think fans would
it's
want to see it.
2025.
Fans would love to. Hey, we're probably going to get GTA 6 before we get that.
That might be wishful thinking. I don't know.
Goodness me.
Make it happen,
Yeah.
Rockstar.
Yeah. And then after that, they're going to have to wait till like 2050 for Red Dead Redemption 3 or the prequel for Red Dead Redemption, because they just take forever with their games. Oh my goodness.
I didn't play the Red Dead.
They're both really good. I would highly recommend them. Blake, I will throw it to you with the stipulation that Pocono's last repay was actually in 2012, the last time. But they really didn't change anything with the repay. They just kind of resurfaced the track. They didn't change any elements. So the tire wear has been pretty formulated, we could say, for the
yeah
most part.
yeah I would say overall for Pocono, fuel and when you pit is going to be a lot more important than really the tires because there's not many times you've ever seen Pocono really matter when it comes to the tires, just because you're driving super straight. There's not tons of load that you're putting down on your right front, like at a if you're at like a Bristol, it's abusing that right front tire, and if you're at like a progressive bank track, it's abusing that right side tire and that right rear tire. Right, it's so different. It affects the tires. To me, kind of minimally, because you also got three straightaways where you're just going straight and your tires really aren't having to move quite a lot. Um, I will say for the trucks and Xfinity, they are on the same left side tires that they've been on since 2022. This week, they're going to use the same left sides at Indianapolis coming up for the Xfinity. Same right sides is 2024. For the Cup Series, I think they're beating a dead drum almost here because they have recognized there is a problem because the left side tires do not fall off at all, right? But they keep saying when they bring this certain tire, like they've had at Vegas, Homestead, Darlington, Texas, Kansas, and Nashville. Like if you remember back to Nashville, there was not a bit of left side wear, hardly at all.
No, there was nothing.
And so they are trying to make it to where the left sides will fall off. So I will be interested to see if they can make at least a little bit of a gain this weekend. Right sides, they used this combination at Indianapolis last season.
Woohoo! What a great race!
You know, Indianapolis not a race to remember last year. So I'm not too optimistic that you're going to have a lot of tire wear, but that could produce, if you see that tires aren't really wearing, that could create some interesting strategy depending on when the cautions fall of all right, are we going to take a second worth of fuel versus 2 seconds worth of fuel? Are we going to do right sides? And just kind of see where it goes on that. I wish I had wish I had a little bit better news on the tires, but Pocono's not normally a tire wear track. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see tire wear play a factor into it, and I think you would see tons more passing than just train racing like you normally see. But I'm trying to shoot straight with you also.
Is it gonna rain?
I actually have no idea, but they do not bring rain tires to this place.
No, they do not. You imagine trying to essentially running what a super speedway is on rain tires?
It might be interesting if they tried it because it's probably flat enough they could try it. But man,
Have some just
I
go
think
one way and one go the other way.
look, the old Tony Stewart special.
Yeah.
saying if you want in the Cup Series, put them on the wet weather tire on a dry surface, and you'll see some doggone tire wear.
Yeah. Well, the fan experience side of Pocono, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right?
hmm
If you are a NASCAR fan that enjoys strategy along with your racing, this is the racetrack for you because, like they've mentioned multiple times, fuel mileage, obviously tire wear, not really, but it usually comes down to fuel mileage race. So you see a lot of nail biters, especially. This is the last broadcast that will be with Prime, Amazon Prime, because they'll be moving to TNT after this race, which I think we can all echo that Prime's done an exceptional job with the broadcasting. But if they do anything like they've done with the fuel mileage races that they've had so far, I think Pocono is going to be fantastic on TV. I think that it's going to be really engaging to watch. But if you are at the track, this is the one time, Blake will probably just look at me weird when I say this, but I would invest in listening to the radio portion of the broadcast when you're at the track because the strategy can be tough to follow when you're at the track because there's no way you're going to hear the intercom with them talking about the strategy fully if these cars are going through green flag pit stops. It will be about impossible to hear. Blake knows that I do not. I detest listening to the scanners and stuff. It's something that I don't enjoy. I rather lose all my hearing and not wear earplugs when I go to the racetrack. That's just the way that I've grew up at racetracks and whatnot. So I'll probably be deaf by I'm 45, but oh well. I lived a fun life, I guess.
Anyway,
Well, maybe it'll make marriage a little bit easier if I'm about deaf, right? That's what this whole joke is. But anyways, Pocono's definitely one of those tracks that I would recommend probably purchasing a scanner or getting on the NASCAR app and getting the subscription package where you can listen to maybe your favorite driver's scanner and you can follow the strategy that way. Or, of course, you can listen to MRN. I will say that Pocono's spent a lot of money renovating their facility. This track, the repave may have been back in 2012, but they're constantly making improvements to this track because, I mean, it's an important part. The fan experience is an important part of all racetracks. If the racing there is subpar, sometimes the fan experience of being there can make up for it, right? But also, the coolest thing to me about Pocono is it's essentially it's a 2.5 miles, right? For us Americans, we measure it in miles. So it's basically a super speedway, right? But you have the three deferring turns, super speedway speed. So as a driver, you're trying to configure in your head, what's the quickest way that I can go through these turns without pulling a Kyle Larson hitting the wall, right? Overdriving the car. That's just such a unique atmosphere for a racetrack. So if you blend the strategy along with that, it's just a unique racetrack. It's the only track that you'll ever go to that's going to be anything closely like a hybrid track, right? So it's like a road course and a super speedway had like a little baby, right? But it's not little at all. It's 2.5 miles long and they're freaking sailing it through these corners and turns.
the weather's looking like it's going to be like 86 on Sunday and sunny, so should not be hopefully no weather involved, and so that should help bring the fans out.
Yep. So definitely looking forward to this week. Next few weeks, in all honesty, we got Pocono, and then Truck Series is going to Lime Rock. That's going to be exciting. The Xfinity Series, of course, going to be going to Atlanta, and the Cup will be going to Atlanta at the same time. You got Chicago, Sonoma, Dover. You got some really exciting track coming up, and then you got Indianapolis, which is just it is what it is.
They ought to do away with that on the Cup schedule. That really would America race.
And then Iowa, I enjoyed Iowa last year. It was nice to see Cup there. Iowa's always been a good Xfinity race, so yeah. So I guess I'm gonna take over Austin's segment for the competition here because I have access to the Google document. Alrighty, so we're going to start with trucks here. So the last time that we picked trucks was obviously at Michigan. Kent was able to get the win last time, with LaJoy being the best finisher of all the drivers that we picked, which was a absolute shocker to most of us. When Kent made this pick, when he was not on the podcast, we kind of chuckled a little bit. Let's be honest with you. But it just shows you that Kent kind of knows what he's talking about. When it comes to picking trucks. When it comes to picking trucks, Kent's pretty good. He's got 4 wins this year. And that's like overall wins. So that's pretty decent. That's tied for the most with Austin and Blake. So you're all tied. But I came in second with Riggs. That would be my 3rd straight second place finish in a row. I'm very consistent with my second place finishes. Before that, I was very consistent with my last place finishes with the truck series. Austin picked Carson Hocevar, and he finished 3rd that week. And Blake finished last with Chastain wrecking towards the end of that race. So Blake, you have the first pick this week, and you cannot pick Kyle Busch, which is not racing. Corey Heim, that's a tough one. Can't pick Chastain. I was looking at Kent and yours at the same time, but you literally both can't pick Busch or Heim this week.
Hey, just give me Hocevar.
Okay, that's a solid pick, especially for who you have. Now, Austin would be next, and I have his picks on my phone, and it's pretty obvious who Austin's going to go with here. He's going to take the best driver in the field with the best performance at Pocono. He is taking Corey Heim this week. So Austin couldn't pick Infinger, Ankrum, or Hocevar. So that kind of, when Heim opens up for you, it's hard not to pick him, especially with the second pick, right?
Amen.
Alrighty, so I am next. I cannot pick Chastain, Hemrick, or Riggs this week. It's a tough week if you don't get the first few drivers. I'm going to go with a kind of a cagey veteran. I'm going to go with Grant Enfinger this week. I think that anybody else that's left on the list here is just a good guess, in all honesty, if we're being honest. And sadly, that is where Kent ends up this week. So, Kent, you cannot pick Kyle Busch, Corey Heim, or Corey LaJoy this week. You're muted, buddy. We can't hurry you.
Hey, give me Lane Riggs.
Lane Riggs been a top competitor all year long. Man, I'm sounding like Jamie Little. This is great. Alrighty. So, to recap the Xfinity race from Mexico City, Blake was able to get the win because he guessed that NASCAR would correctly rig the Xfinity race, and he picked Daniel Suarez. Blake finished first with P1. Austin picked Connor Zilich. He finished P5, drove all the way back up from the back after having that late race incident on a restart. I had Ty Gibbs, who finished P14, so that put me 3rd overall. And the Kent curse made its return in the Xfinity series. Kent picked Christopher Bell, and that Sam Hunt racing machine grenaded towards the middle of the race. That was tough for Kent, but it's not something that he's not used to. I think he's probably just about used to it at this point. All right, Kent. So you cannot pick Austin Dillon this week, which you don't have to worry about, Ross Chastain, or Christopher Bell. So you pretty much have a open roster of who you can pick. So maybe you should be able to redeem yourself this week.
Well, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna pick a guy. I don't know if I've picked him yet this year, but he's good on road courses, and we've already made this comparison to a road course, and he's had speed just about all season. So give me Connor Zillage.
Okay, Kent.
Nice.
That is my championship pick this year, so I hope that he does get an extra win in the bank. All right, I would be next. Obviously, I cannot pick Ty Gibbs this week. I also cannot pick Sam Mayer or Sammy Smith. Man, I'm between two guys here. I swear, man, Sheldon Creed's got to win a race at some point, right? Give me Creed this week.
I thought you were going to say, but not this week. Give me the Benedetto. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man, I'll go with it this week. He's got a good performance at Pocono most of the time. Of course, that was mainly with a different team, but
What'd you say?
Sheldon Creed. Let's see here. Blake will finish, or he finished first, so Austin will get his pick. And I will pull up who he has a very, very good pick with Chase Elliott being still left on the board here. So he's probably got the best pick because you don't have to worry about Chase running probably next week at Atlanta.
I was going to get lucky for the fourth pick there for a second.
You never get lucky. All right, Blake, you cannot pick. Let's see here. Allgaier, Almirola, or Suarez. Man, having Justin Allgaier would be great right now, but you cannot pick him.
Yeah. Give me Brandon Jones.
Yeah. Had to feel like that's where you were going to go with that pick. That's not a bad pick to be the fourth one.
No.
Good pick.
Me, poor old Brandon Jones, man.
I thought about Austin Hill, but then I was reminded that
road courses are coming up.
Park and road courses are coming up.
Oh my goodness. To recap the Xfinity Series lead, Austin is in lead with 40 points. Blake is in second with 38. I am at 37. And Kent is at the bottom with 35 points. So we're all really close when it comes to the Xfinity Series. In contrast to the Cup Series that we currently have going on right now, the points are as showed right now. Austin is in the lead with 50 points. I have closed the gap a little bit. I'm at 48 points, so I'm 2 points out of the lead. I was able to get a stage win along with SVG winning this week. And Blake and Kent are both tied for third place with a whopping 39 points.
Hey, we've closed the gap from 50.
Yeah, I mean, you both need your championship driver to win, right? And Blake's championship driver is still not locked in. Tyler Reddick is yet to be locked into the playoffs. He'll probably make it in points, but who knows? I will recap. Obviously, I won with SVG. Can't pick Michael McDowell, which was my second pick. I'm glad that he went with that. It was a good finish for Kent. That's back-to-back second place finishes for Kent. So, starting a streak of second place finishes. That's what you need.
Woo, NASCAR.
Austin picked Buescher this week. He finished P10. And, of course, Blake picked his favorite driver, Kyle Larson, due to a slight wet weather incident. So, Blake, you have the first pick this week. Of course, these are not verbatim picks. We make those as we come into the practice and qualifying numbers, but you cannot pick Chastain, you cannot pick Hamlin, and you cannot pick Kyle Larson this week. Who is somebody that you would consider with your first pick?
Probably William Byron.
Taking Kent's favorite driver from him this week would probably be Blake with his first pick.
Logical, I would think.
Austin has two, but I will only disclose one because I don't want to give all his secrets away. He's probably looking at Christopher Bell this week. It's a very good track for Bell. Toyota in general is a very exceptional manufacturer when it comes to Pocono here of late. So that would be a driver that Austin would be looking forward to picking. Kent, you would have the next pick, so you cannot pick. Chase Elliott, that's a tough one. Chase is fairly decent when it comes to Pocono. Chris Buescher and Michael McDowell. So, who would be your driver that you would consider?
I mean, if he falls to me at this track, I don't know how you don't pick Denny Hamlin. So that's probably who I would go with. I like the William Byron pick. He's been so stinking consistent. I mean, even Mexico City, I thought, going into it, seeing where he qualified and everything, I was like, yeah, he's gonna run around 20th all day and just kind of wind up there. But squeak out a ninth was like, oh, okay, all right. So even his bad days, he makes something out of. I think that's why he has the points lead he does. But Hamlin just, I mean, it feels like he's automatic here. So yeah, if he falls to me, it'd be hard not to pick Hamlin.
I cannot pick Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, or SVG, so I'm probably the best coming into this week. I have a lot of availability. Obviously, Hamlin wasn't going to make it to me being the last pick anyways. I'm looking at Tyler Reddick this week. Reddick's fairly decent at Pocono. He has a really good start, especially here recently. Of course, that would lock me out with my road course. I couldn't pick him, but I think I have a decent idea of how I want to go for the next 3 weeks. So if Tyler Reddick falls to me, he actually has the best average finish, I think, recently at Pocono. So that would be someone that I probably would consider if he did follow me down to the bottom of the totem pole this week. All right, Brett. So we make guest picks. So I will start with the truck series. Who is the guy that you are probably looking at this week to win overall? And you can pick any driver in the field.
Corey Heim.
Yeah, I feel like that would be one that I would pick based upon Heim's average finish at this track is like 2.8. So he's kind of good. Looking at the Xfinity series, who's someone that you're looking at?
Good question.
So our picks: Connor Zilich, Sheldon Creed, Chase Elliott's making a start, and Brandon Jones are the 4 that we picked. But there's honestly probably about 8 to 9 drivers that I would consider to be possible candidates for the win this week.
Give me Jesse Love.
Jesse Love. Oddly enough, that's who you picked the last time you made a pick on the podcast, and it did not go as good, so I hope that Jesse Love does good for you this week. But you picked Christopher Bell the last time that you were on the podcast in the Cup Series, and Christopher Bell won the race, so you picked correctly. So, who would you consider picking for the Cup race at Pocono?
Do we know if Danny Hamlin's back?
Oh yeah, his baby's out. Everything is good. He's going to be driving.
Give me Denny Hamlin.
Brett is picking his favorite driver, Denny Hamlin, to win at Pocono.
My least favorite.
Our guest appearances so far, we had Bart at Atlanta, and he picked Cole Custard for Atlanta, and he finished P30. Brett finished P1 with Christopher Bell the last time he picked. So far you're killing it when it comes to Cup. Xfinity Series, not so much. You could use a little help, and you haven't had to pick any trucks till today. So I wish everybody luck this week. Pocono is going to be fantastic to watch. Get 3 days of racing, which is always nice.
Amen.
And yeah, that's basically it. Brett, it was fantastic to have you on. It's always good to have some guest analysis coming into the week. I would imagine that you would probably looking to come back on around Chicago, after Chicago, maybe Sonoma.
Yeah, I'd be more than welcome to.
Okay, so we'll probably get in contact with you, have our liaison, Austin, talk to you about getting that scheduled and everything. And
Sounds good.
after Pocono, we have Lime Rock for the Truck Series, which will be very interesting.
Yeah,
and we have Atlanta for Cup and Xfinity. So essentially back-to-back super speedways and quotation marks for the Cup and the Xfinity Series, right? So
Yep.
All right. Well, any last thoughts?
Nope. Just thanks for letting me be on.
Yeah.
We
Good.
we appreciate having you on, and we will also be having another guest appearance next week with a guy that Austin wanted me to link up with. So I'm going to leave that as a special. So when you click on the podcast next week, there will be a random face and a random voice. You won't know who it is. We will, but nobody else will. So look forward to next week as we discuss Pocono's results and look forward to Kent's home track of Echo Park Speedway.
Wait to be back at the track. It's going to be fun. I've been to a cup race since the 600 last year, so it'll be a good time.
We're gonna
Enjoy.
make sure that you get you a TikTok posted of you forcing yourself to look up at the stadium's name and recite Echo Park Speedway. And you're just going to have complete disgust on your face the entire time.
We can make that happen. We can make it happen.
Yeah, we're going to make it happen.
Let's do
We're
it.
going to make it happen, Captain. All right, hasta luego. See you later. Bye.
Hasta luego.